Welcome to the live deep dive Dabble of Tulip from Acusticaaudio. All right, couple of things before we get started. One, if you're new to my live streams, sometimes I ramble, so I'll try to keep it on subject and on to what we're dealing with as far as the record is concerned. The other thing is, well, there's no other thing. Let's get started. So if you have not watched my, it was really a quick review video of Tulip. It's the last video that I posted. I really go over the controls. Don't necessarily do a whole lot more than that. There is a quick before and after, so you get an idea of what it sounds like before and after, of course. But today what we're going to do is we're going to dig in to kind of looking at what the technology is all about, the hyper engine particularly. I really want you to understand what the hyper preamps do to the sound. Let me say it like that, because that's the part I'm most excited about is the preamps, because that's the biggest thing with this technology that I am just thrilled to even have in this day and age is the preamps. But we'll also touch over the hyper compression as well, so you can see how that works. And then we'll actually look at a couple of updates from a few plugins, particularly Cola got the hyper compression treatment. So that was an update. And hold on, let me put the pop filter here, because I know me. Much better. All right. Cola got an update. Lava got a couple of updates, and I was supposed to do some stuff with Lava. There I go. Some time ago, but I got caught up in domestic life, and that didn't happen. So we'll kind of dabble with that as well. It's a couple, like I said, a couple of updates with that. Also, what else? It was Fire the Clip. I hadn't done a review on this, but I did get it was a Cubase 12 promotional promotion basically that they had, where you got Fire the Clip for free. And I had downloaded, demoed it and whatnot, but I really wasn't in that frame of mind at that moment. But I use it on here, and I can tell you, as like that last little piece at the very end of your mix, 1 decibel of clipping with this thing just is nice. So the one part here that was not in the original review is I want to call it almost the mastering channel. For the most part, doing my own mastering for my material, but I took the mastering portion out. So what we basically did was we added purple here for just cleaning up the low end, really. Some tape. So this is tape taupe. I don't know how to pronounce this, but it's another plugin from Acusticaaudio, as well as purple. And of course, as I mentioned, Fire the Clip, right? Now I got 2 instances on here because in between these two was the actual, the mastering plugin. But anyway, so let's get into it. We got kick, hat, snare, rooms, toms, percussion, some mouth clicks from me, some live shakers. What else we got on here? A boatload of claps, bass, flute, a pluck. Then we have the vocals, and that is it. There's no keys in here because I did a lot of harmony parts that were kind of through the vocals. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to let this play here. I'm going to go grab me a bottle of water. This is the record without any of the Acusticaaudio processing on it. And then once we let this go through, we will then do a deep dive.
top down, lady. Then you can pull the top down, baby. With our feet up on the dashboard, lazy. Get money while the world's gone crazy.
All right. Y'all forgive me. I am getting over a little bug over the weekend. So, all right. So now I'll play you just a little bit with everything activated here. You can hear the difference that Tulip has brought to the record and on the master bus. And just so you're not confused, down here is the raw masters. Everything is going through here with no plugins on it at all. A pre-master where I do all of the mix bus stuff, and then the stereo out is where I generally would do the mastering. I just started that process, so all right. And then finally, I want you to hear, and hopefully I'm hoping that I've taken in consideration, well, hey, mistakes have happened. I'm going to pull these two up just in case I need to turn one off. So this is there's no mastering here, but this is the treatment. So really the first two could have gone on the master bus rather than the mix bus rather than the master bus. But anyway, I'll let it play. Getting that -1 decibel. All right, so let's do this, because I want you to hear what I did with this. So I'm going to take this to, actually, yeah, I'm going to take it here, and I'm going to bypass the mastering bus so you can hear what the difference is between before and after.
We gon' make it to the top now, lady. Then you can pull the top down, babe. With our feet up on the dashboard, lazy. Get money while the world's gone crazy.
All right, so basically what happened is we reduced, of course, low end, like I said, with purple, right? We just, it's very subtle, and I love it for that, right? So we took out the super bottom on the record. With tape, it kind of took care of some of the high-end stuff. I'm not even sure what to call it, what it's doing right here, but it's doing some funky stuff that took out some of the high-end prickly-ishness to it, if I could say those words. I don't know, let me see, we use any EQ here? Don't think so. We did use more high pass filtering, so really it's about taking out the low end, because that's one of the problems that I have with mixing is too much bottom end. So no compression, right? No actual EQ, and actually, yeah, no EQ at all. Just the high pass. Goodness gracious, I got to get my head together here. And then we used I don't even know what Saturn represents. I know what the other ones are. I think it's not Otari. whatever the 824 multi-track tape, that apparently is what fit well on the record. But it also boosted a little bit on the low end too. So it kind of gave it a little something back that we took away from with purple, right? All right, so let's get to the point of what we're doing here, right? I want to talk about, first of all, the kick drum here, because this is where the most shine for me. Wow, I didn't even realize I had two of these on here. Are they the same? Yes, they are. It's 1-0 latency. Not sure why I have two on here. That must have been a slip of the finger. Anyway, it's there. And I'll bypass one of them for right now. So the preamps, as a matter of fact, here, let's do it this way, because the preamp that's on the channel strip is actually the same preamp that you get on the standalone pre. It is all of the same options here, right? So I'm gonna close that out. And well, let's just talk about the preamp here, because the Hyper Pre is the most, well, it's not the most recent, because there's a third one that we'll talk about, but this was the most recent as of me using it, right? So we got mic, we got line, we got custom, right? So the mic and the line, well, let me just play it. So we're playing the kick right now, right? There's no preamp on it. And as a matter of fact, let me turn off the master as well, so that has no influence. So this is it raw, right? Not a bad kick drum. And as a matter of fact, let me ensure this guy is on. There we go. Okay. So turning the pre on, we got the mic. Push it. Now that's a little too much, right? Because it's breaking up. But once you get to that breakup point, pull it back. And you can hear it's almost a transient enhancing. And the only real way I kind of imagined it in my imagination was the kick drum was being layered over, like the texture of the kick drum was being layered over with a gloss of harmonics and being enhanced in its transients. And this one feature, so far I have found that if I utilize the preamp on the master, it gets to a point where I don't need mix bus compression. Like, it's giving me the glue factor and an enhancement of the transients without having to really compress the material. And I found myself doing that with a second record that I started working on, which I'll show you guys a little later. But let's take a look at what we did for the kick drum here, right? So I'm just going to use one of these for right now. We'll close this guy out. So from the looks of it, we pushed the preamp on the line with one of the selected preamp sections here up to 12. So, and also what I'm told is that this meter here is not the, like as you push this more, let's see if I can just even demonstrate that. So as you see, I pulled it all the way to -24. It's not telling you how much it's not telling you, in other words, when you increase or decrease the gain here, it doesn't reflect here. What this is showing you is what the signal is coming into the plugin, right? Versus what the signal is going out. So some of their plugins, when you push the input here, even though the volume doesn't increase, the meter reflects that increase in volume on the input. That is not the case with these here. All right, so we did no EQ on the low end here, but we did cut. I want to make sure that on this second one, yeah, it was somehow just duplicated. No cut here, and I probably should have, but we did no EQ there, but we did get to the like that upper range of where you want the kick drum to kind of stand out. Soundcraft Saturn 824. Okay. Did not know that. All right. Yeah, so we we wanted the point of the kick wherever it felt the most comfortable, right here. And we found it right around 8 kilohertz with the broad setting. And we only get 10 decibels on these EQs, so it's not an extreme thing. I did take out a lot of the high end on the top after I added that. Don't seem to have done much. Nope. I also took out a lot of high end here too as well. So let me see. Yeah, so that the real tip. Yep. And then for compression down here, like I said, I did not have to do a lot. This is what, maybe 4 decibels. So I can hear it's giving a little punch. It's giving a little punch. It's averaging in between 0 and 4. So it's not my usual heavy stuff. Will be down here somewhere, right? And that's what we did with the kick. So didn't get overly extreme. It's when we get to the drum bus that we started getting a little heavy. All right, so moving on, the hi-hat. Now the hi-hat has some flanging on it from Metaflanger. But with this, we really was just, of course, we pushed the preamps because I'm preamp happy around here, especially with the new Hyper engine. Yeah, I just wanted to bring out some of the top end. Really, that's really what it's all about. And then I did use the brick wall limiter, which we'll talk about in a minute, because this thing is crazy, man. And actually, yeah, we'll just get to that in a minute. So that was pretty much what we did. We just, did a little bit of conditioning in that case. Now with the snare drum, we actually used that brick wall limiter. And listen to this. Now it has a point that I like. But this just rounded it off. It went from point to more woody, and I know that's a weird way of describing it, but to me, some snares sound more woody or round, and some snares have more, have more thwack to them than anything. And this got it from thwack to more woody or more round, and that is largely because of this, right? As a matter of fact, let's just mute these. That's pretty drastic. Gave it a little bit of bottom end life because it was starting to get a little thin, right? But it was also getting apparently a little too peaky, right? So we gave it some of that, the high mid reduction, all right? And then gave it back a little. No, we didn't do anything with that. Let me see. I'm looking at some of my controls here. Okay, I see why I took that off. Yep. So I think my thinking was give it a little bit more bottom because it was starting to sound a little thin. I may have attempted to adjust this one here, but I turned that off. And I don't think this is doing much with the low pass. Nope. But this brick wall limiter, man, this thing you can actually use this to do mastering with. They put it in Aaron. That thing is incredible. Since I'm working on becoming a mixing engineer right now first, before I even really think about trying to do anything mastering, even though I do master them. And when I say master, all I'm really talking about is bringing the volume up to a competitive level, right? Well, real mastering is about getting an album to sound like one cohesive thing, a full story. You know what I'm saying? So I haven't even delved into such a thing. But the second project that I started on, I did use this in place of the usual L2. Being a brick wall limiter, it functions in that way, and then you still get that analog color. Excuse me. Ooh, soda. All right, what we have next here is the toms. Now these are in one particular place. I don't think I did a lot. Did I add the wrong? Oh no, actually the next is the room. Okay, so the room, it's not a lot in it, but this did provide more bottom end. So we made sure we got that under control. Not a whole lot in the preamp area. All right. So it gave it a little punch. What's next? So the toms, now those are in, like I was saying, is in a specific area here. And they are right here at 5. Let me save in case we get a crash. Excuse me. So the toms are these two here. So they were rather dull. So this brought them out because we really wanted we wanted them to cut through the mix, right? But I also wanted some of the low end, and I still may take more out. I wanted to reduce some of the low end here because it was a little bit much. And this is essentially the same tom hand, and it was pre-treated and even treated here a little different. No compression. We did use some preamp. So we pushed it to the max here, and we just cut out the lows. We cut out some more of the muddy areas here, and increased, of course, the high end, so it cuts to a little better. All right. So that's it for the drums as far as the independent drums. I'm going to jump down here to, and I really should have had it. I should have had it bypassed because now I think about it, it was influencing it the whole way there. So this is the drums without the drum bus influence with everything that I had there. So all right. And so now here's what we did with the drum bus. Let me bypass that again. So what I'm listening and what I'm hearing wow. It still sounds like there's some mud with all of these playing. Now it feels like the mud has been cleaned up. So let's take a look at what we got going on here. The compressor. Now, I have never been one to use parallel compression. And I believe it's this one. Nope. One of these has parallel compression on it. Oh, no, I might be getting that confused with another record. The second record I did has the parallel compression on it. So we'll talk about that later. So anyway, we have, what is that, around 5 to 6 decibels of gain reduction here. We have the preamp just a little up because if you see the meter here, we are feeding this drum bus with a lot of signal. Like I just ignored the rules. And so what's going into the plugin is more than legally allowed, so to speak. All right. But anyway, we did some compression here. We got about 6 decibels of compression. Now, I said I was going to talk about what this and these are. So basically this, I want to say these work in tandem, right? But this is the first. Here, let's do it like this. If I turn this off and I turn this off, what we got? Okay, not what I expected. And the reason is, nope. Okay, so we're gonna have to dive into that because I got a different result before than what I'm getting now. My understanding, so when it's at 0, it does not, there's no clamping down, right? When you put it at -5, then it, oh, I remember now. Okay, I don't think I used it in this record. So this was the second record. And this is all my fault. I apologize because I when I got done with this one, I immediately started a second record and started really just diving in and seeing what things are. What this here is, and I don't know if it works with the ultra comp or the regular comp, but when you put it on the brick wall, this is where it will keep the signal at when using this is the true peak function. So let me do this before we jump to that, because I want to kind of show that, and I did promise that I would. Tulip, the compressor, and this is only in the compressor, so this function does not work with the channel strip. So I'm going to have to be careful because the brick wall limiter, it gets extremely loud. It made, yeah, let me turn that down here. So if I play this, all right, so right now, bypassed, we got it turned down, right? So if I turn this off, right, and I increase this, and this is strictly brick walling, no ratio, no attack, straight brick wall. I'm gonna turn the preamp on too. Try to get it as close to a little bit more. All right, that's too much. Okay, so right now it's brick walling, and you know what I have? Let me make sure I got these set to. That makes the biggest difference. Let me change my meters here. All right, there we go. So it's right now it's brick walling to wherever you have the threshold set, right? So it's just keeping it right there, right? If you turn on, and then if you click this here, nothing happens. And this has been my experience. But if you turn on true peak, now look at where the, what is that? So right now it's saying 18.5, right? So now it's 19. And if I do this one, it will true peak it at -1. So now it should be, was that 20.5 or 19.5? Okay, because we're going up but down. So this is the level of true peak is what that is. And so being a true peak brick wall limiter, this can most certainly be your final mastering limiter. That's the point that I get from the brick wall limiting, right? And then brick wall 2 gives you the option of adjusting the attack and the schmod. So the schmod is an adjustment of the attack, the shape of the attack, right? Right. So let's squeeze this a little more and see what we get. So yeah, you can hear more of the initial attack being modified. And if you're not familiar, 2 is the original intention of whatever they sampled. 4, of course, it allows more attack to come through. And if you put it on 0, it actually, I think it's 0 to 1, it engages a look ahead function for the compressor. All right. All right. So that's the brick wall. Let's get back to what we did with the drum bus itself, right? So where were we at? We were on the compressor. So we got 6 decibels of reduction here. So we got some punch out of this. All right. So the way it sounds now, it's full and it's punchy. But this just, especially on that kick, it just squashed it a little bit more and rounded everything off. All right. That's the compressor. Next, we use some EQ. And I want to talk about this for a second, because this is part of what the switch that I made when I mixed this. There were a couple of things that I was thinking about. One of those, and I think the guy's name is Streaky. He had brought up a very good point and a long known technique in mastering and mixing, and that's taking out some of the mud in this area. And I even had a look at a video, I think it was last night, where some of the more recent and not so recent mixing engineers was talking about the 300 area. And so I just took out, 3 decibels, cleaned it up. Like, I need to do that more often, because that's where a lot of these virtual instruments, they're in that area and they build up. Do you hear that it cleaned itself up? Right? That muddy sound right there just got swiped out, just with a few decibels and a very narrow band, right? So I didn't kill the sound of the drums, but I definitely cleaned it up in that area. We used the line input here for more preamp, so it gets a little bit more punchy with that, right? And that's what we got done with the EQ. We kept it simple there. And then we're back with that compressor again. Just a hair on the reduction. That was more glue after what we did with the EQ. Then of course I raised the volume a little here. So at the end of the day, it was gain matched. So again, listen, before, all right. All right. What do we have next? The bass guitar. All right. Let us take a listen at the bass guitar. And actually, I didn't even play all of the drums because none of these got the independent treatment, but they are all a part of the drum bus, right? So, and yes, that's me going. Sometimes when the record calls for it, do it. A lot of mud in there. Yeah. All right. Moving on, man. So we have the bass guitar. Let's see what we're doing with that guy. In fact, I'm going to have to unmute these guys. All right. I passed. Tried to get as close as I could with gain staging. So we definitely did some compression here, and we did it with this wonderful brick wall limiter. Keeping that control, like you can't go over this level, right? That was the whole point. I cut down some of the low end here because I'm the one thing I'm learning, and I need to say this because as somebody trying to learn how to be a mix engineer, somebody may be able to use this. If you have HS7s, it has been my experience thus far, especially coming from coming from basically Project Studio speakers that are bigger than this cone, the ones that have more low end where you don't really need a sub, you have to remember that your record should not have a lot of low end when you're listening through these speakers. They're mid-range focused. I learned this by turning a reference record on, a couple of records that I just listened to, and noticed just how, I hate to say it, but weak the mix sounded coming through there. And my point of reference, was bigger speakers and of course listening to it in the car. And so I began to understand that, all right, I'm not supposed to hear the bass like that with these speakers. And that was the other thing that, right along with the mud cut, this was the other thing that I flipped on. The light flipped on. Knew it, just didn't practice it. But anyway, there was that rambling going. So I cut quite a bit of low end here at the 60s hertz area. So it's more of a heard bass guitar than a felt guitar, right? And then, of course, we took out some of the mud in this as well. We cut back on some 8K because I didn't want it to be so peaky. Cut out a lot of the top end. Didn't do anything with this. Don't even know why it's on. And of course, we used the mess out of the new Hyper Pre. So again, let me bypass and engage so you can hear it. And I'm gonna shut up. All right, so we really wanted that bass guitar to be heard. All right, next is the flute. Now I have to be careful because I redid the flute here. So I want to make sure I get the right one. Okay. Right, so I'll start it here. And with the flute, we did not use Tulip at all. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong thing, aren't I? Yep, there we go. So I imported the MIDI file. I needed to add some more. So that was why I got confused. So looking at this here, all we mostly did was, of course, me and this preamp, man. This is why I like this suite, is the preamp. For the most part, that is what is just the most enticing thing about this suite, is this new part of the technology. So I pushed that. Let's take a listen at the before and after. Quite dull. All right. So we pushed that 10K up. All right. Turn that 10K off. So it's probably not getting a whole lot in terms of the preamp because it's a rather low signal coming through. Most we got up to many, and this is more transient than it is constant. All right, so we're not really hitting it hard. So mostly it was about, enhancing the high end and getting some control over the peaks by way of this brick wall compressor. And I didn't realize that I used the brick wall compressor this much. But it has been that useful to the point where I can get some things under control and not all over the place if I really want to reduce the dynamic range without really giving it that compressed sound, right? All right, moving on. What else do we have here? The lead vocal, I think that was the last thing on the tracks, yes. So the lead vocal, this has been probably the hardest thing for me to narrow down, is vocal compression for the sound that I'm looking for myself. But I knew I was going to dig into this thing hard because I'm listening to me. We all know how that goes. So let me play the lead vocal here. And I'm going to say this, these And I'm going to play this, and the reason why I got to say this because you're getting ready to hear some mess. I recorded these vocals, all of them, in FL Studio with my heater running in the background. This record was not intended to get this far. Those were scratch vocals I was laying down. I just simply exported everything, put it into here to do some mixing once I got a hold of Tulip, and have not did any cleaning on any of these things yet. So you will hear some noise behind the vocals and in between the in between some of the lines. I do have Clarity VX to clean this stuff up, but these vocals will be scrapped and redone. The other thing is they have auto tune on them. It might be a little too much for my taste, but again, that's neither here nor there. Now I'm going to turn this off. This is an ensemble, stereo ensemble. I didn't even realize I put it on the lead, but it kind of gives it that widening effect. So I'm going to turn that off, and let's take a listen to the before and after. And as a matter of fact, this is what I'm going to do, because everything from now on will be in this section. So I'm going to put this on beat, and I'm going to go, let's see here, one beat up, and let's do it like this, and one beat back. All right, that should be good enough. All right, so this is the lead vocal before.
We gon' make it to the top now, lady.
I'm gonna turn off the reverb. Up, wrong one. Back on. Mute the reverb. There we go.
We gon' make it to the top now, lady. Then you can pull the top down, baby. With our feet up on the dashboard, lazy. Get money while the world's gone crazy.
There we go.
We
Now it's
gon'
dry.
make it to the top now, lady. Then you can pull the top down, baby. With our feet up on the dashboard, lazy.
Now, I could have did a better job at gain staging that, but apparently I did not. But let's take a look at this. There are some things in here. Listening to it by itself, I don't really care for. But I will say this. I have begun to really hone in on doing the best mixing paradigm that I find appealing, and that's top-down mixing. So I start everything at the master bus and work backwards. Different than what I was doing on the mix master release. It was the opposite way. We were doing the bottom-up approach. I like the top-down approach because I like to get my canvas set, right? I already got my colors, but I like to get my canvas set where I'm going to do the drawing on it. And with that, sometimes the decisions that are made after you put the mix bus on, listening to them by itself without the mix bus's influence, yeah, it's not going to sound like you want it to. So that's what that is. So anyway, I got high end boosted here. I got high end boosted here, right? I did cut out the low. I will say this with this, these are passive EQs, right? So they're not, and y'all excuse me, I'm just recovering from this stupid bug here. So these passive EQs, sometimes it's like, is it on? This high pass filter, I had to keep asking myself, is it on? I even reinstalled it once because I didn't know if it was working or not. It's working. It's just very, very subtle.
We gon' make it to the top now, lady.
Right?
Then you can pull the top down, baby.
And I checked it. Frequency analyzer. That super low end cleaned it right up. Now, what else here? We boosted where we cut in the drum bus right here. That 300 we boosted. That's like my fundamental as far as vocal tone is concerned. It's around that 300. So I try to emphasize that and de-emphasize that around the other stuff so that the vocal cuts through a little better. All right. The preamp, we kind of pushed it. And I'm going to push it some more. Hear that? That's breaking up now. So I got it right under where it breaks up.
We gon' make it to the top now, lady. Then you can pull the top down, baby.
Now, the reason why you're hearing the volume change is because of the amount of compression I'm using and the fact that I have the makeup gain up by 6 decibels.
Then you can pull the top down, baby, with our feet up on the dashboard.
And you can hear
get money while the
where
world's gone crazy.
saturates a little bit.
Make it to the top now, lady. Then you can pull
right
the
there,
top down, baby,
right there,
with our feet
right
up
there,
on the
right.
dashboard.
And it's almost like that Neve effect when you get it right to the edge of where it starts to break up and you back it down some, so you get some of that, you know what I'm saying? You get some of that growl with the vocals. And I actually had a gentleman who I follow on Facebook, Clint, I think it's Clint Music, Anthony Clint Jr. or something like that. He does film and TV. He's kind of helping just with his videos get me back into that field of music. But I played a record on one of his review days, and he mentioned that it would be nice to hear that tube, that grit sound on the vocals, because it really should have had that in there. And that record, I don't even think I used Acustica audio plugins with, but that's available here. Now, let me pause for a second, because the third part of the Hyper Engine was released after I did the original video for this one here. It is called Pumpkin. So I wanted to actually do this. I wanted to pull up, well, it's not called Pumpkin. It's called Fire the Pump. And it is the hyper saturation. So this is the only plugin that's available right now with the hyper saturation in it. God knows what they're going to bring out when there's hyper compression, hyper preamp, and hyper saturation. You got to hear how this thing sounds. So I'm going to back off this here just a little bit. And that's 6 decibels. So I'm going to back off this just a little bit so that it's pretty matched. Oh, excuse me. All right. Right. So we'll engage this. Matter of fact, here, let me just turn this off altogether. There we go.
We gon' make it to the top now, lady. Then you can pull the top down, baby, with our feet up on the dashboard.
Now,
lazy.
If you're thinking like I'm thinking, what? And matter of fact, here, I'll just demonstrate that. Let me bypass this one.
We gon' make it to the top now, lady. Then you can pull the
right.
Top down, baby,
if you following me,
with our feet up on
the expectation was, once I push this up in this range here, is that it sounded more like this. So I'm, and this may be just wishful thinking, Acustica. What I'm hoping that they do is combining all of this technology. The preamp continues to do what it does here when it kind of rounds things off, kind of pushes the transients. But when it gets up into those far nether regions, it starts to break apart like this does, which is the saturation. And this is developed off of them modeling some saturation from hardware. And it is just gorgeous. So it has essentially 2 functions here, right? Really, if you think about it, 3. You have the input and the output is even. Nothing is touched. So when you turn this up, it's going to get louder because it's saturating. They may come out with an actual commercial version of this that I'm thinking that's what they're going to, at least that's what they did with Fire the Bus. They came out with a free one and a that you had to win, and then they came out with a commercial one. I'm thinking if they come out with a commercial one, this thing is going to have some stuff on it that's going to blow my damn mind, including different saturation types. And I know I'm kind of putting the cart before the horse here. But you have the input and the output at unity gain, right? So you increase the saturation here, it's going to increase the volume, right? Let me turn this back down. All right. This on. You can hear it. That's more what I wanted this to do up here, like when I push it that far up again. But then the one thing that the Acustica CEO mentioned was that if you turn this up, and I always do stuff by the extreme. If you turn this up, turn this down, which means they're still at unity gain, right?
We gon' make it to the top now, lady.
Bypassed.
Then you can pull the top down,
Then you can increase this a little bit
feet up on the dashboard, lazy.
and get a tube
Get
effect.
money while the world's gone crazy.
And I can hear this kind of warming up the edges of the signal.
Make it to the top now, lady. Then you can pull the top down, baby. With our feet up on the dashboard, lazy.
Oh man,
Get money while the world's
that is beautiful. And listen, there is 16 times oversampling in this thing. Now I know when I turn this, let's see how far it goes up. So I'm looking at my meter up here. Now that's even better. So we'll just put the meter here and then we'll put this on 16x. What?
We gon' make it to
It didn't move.
now, lady. Then you can pull the top down, baby. With our feet up
wow.
on the dashboard,
yeah, that's a different behavior than it had before. So let me put this back to 1 because I've not done this. I haven't did a lot of testing with Fire to Pump just yet, except for the second record.
We gon' make it to the top now, lady.
All right, so that's with the input all the way up, the output all the way down. So let me reset these and try it again.
We gon' make it to the top now, lady.
It has a different feel to it. Now, granted, it is louder. So, is there any? Let me see. Let me do this. I'm gonna make another copy here. One, I am going to do this raised, this lowered, right? And then the other one, we will lower this. I don't know how much by, but let's see. So bypassed.
We gon' make it to the top now, lady. Then you can pull the top down, baby. With our feet up on the dashboard, lazy. Get money while the world's gone crazy.
Back it up some.
Make it to the top now, lady. Then you can pull the top
All right.
down, baby.
Let's see what this one sounds like.
We gon' make it to the top now, lady. Then you can pull the top down, baby.
Yeah, there's something else going on with it. And I know part of what I'm hearing is the sound of the dryer or the heater in the background. So it's really interacting with the saturation or all of that low noise and fluff coming from that. You can hear it in the background.
We gon' make it to the top now, lady. Then you can
but not with that one.
Down, baby.
This one.
With our feet up on
You hear that? Even though it's lower.
Get money while the world's gone crazy. We gon' make it to the top now, lady.
Yeah, that's definitely a different level. So just changing the input here gives you a different kind of interaction with the saturation, right? But we'll get back to Fire to Pump at a greater and later time when they implement it in whatever new product that they're coming out, the commercial product that they're coming out with. Okay, so we've taken a look at the boy, my nose is really tripping. We've taken a look at the trying to get my bearings here. It's been 2 hours. Wow. At the what we've done on the vocal track. Now we did do the backgrounds and the hoot and ha's, right? So we did these things here, and I pretty much think that we did the same on both, with the exception of the, well, there's a couple of differences here, right? So let's see. All of those are before here. So that's all of this section here. All right, so I'll go to the top and alrighty. 3. We'll start with the hoot and ha's. And I will actually, yeah, we got that section. Right. Okay. Did I got the right one here? Probably not. And I'm going to turn this stereo thing off here, so we just get it raw. Right? So we EQ'd this in a way that I wanted it a little different than the actual lead voice. Lots of high end, lots of low cut. So I didn't want it to be too much in that area. And one thing I see that I didn't do was to cut out that 300, which probably would have been better. But then it sounds like, of course, I'm taking too much out. We used the brick wall limiter because usually with background vocals, you squash them, right? They're not the main character. They're supposed to sit in the background. All right. Of course, we have the preamp engaged, so we used a little color from that. All right. So that's what we did on the hoot and ha's. Then I decided to separate the hoot and ha's from, and actually, wait a minute before I go there. The ha's. Those are the hoots. These are the ha's. All right. And you can hear that drastic change. And when they tell you don't mix stuff in solo, I truly understand it now. All right, so that is the hoot and ha's. Now the background vocals is the last thing that we did here. So if I'm here, we can mute the lead and take that off. All right. Make sure I'm there. Ooh, I don't want to do that. I want to save it though. All right. Let's see what we got here.
We gon' make it to the top now, lady. And you can pull the top down.
Again, very peaky sounding, right? We'll lose that. So we definitely did some high-end pushing. Now in my headphones, this is very, very peaky. Cut out the low end. We did a lot like we did with the previous one. We didn't use the brick wall for this one, but we are smashing this pretty good, right?
And you can pull the top down, baby. With our feet up on the dashboard, lazy. Get money while the world's gone crazy.
Cool. Now I think the one thing that because I wasn't really trying to be serious with this is I did not get a initial balance. You know, I don't think I really did a lot of gain staging with this, nor did I get an initial balance. It really was a top-down approach. The way I'm going to move forward, though, gain stage, initial balance, then we start at the top and work our way backwards, right? So I understand some of the decisions that I made here. Now, those are all of the things that we did with the record. The master bus, of course, is that. So let's play it from the top. And let's talk about what we did here. Starting with the preamp, I believe. Yes. I pushed it. You hear that? It's almost a extra tip in there. Oh, Tatted Skittles is online. All right. So the compressor's preamp, apparently I love that thing. All right. So we definitely pushed it as high as it can go. All right. And then the EQ after that. So we cut some stuff once again down in this 300 area. Which has been amazing to me. a little bit of the line preamp, a little cut in 40. We didn't actually use this EQ nor the the low pass filter, even though it's engaged. But then we turned around and cut back the high end. So all of the high end where you heard things being peaky got sort of pseudo corrected here on the pre-master bus. All right. And that was just the approach that I went with this. And then finally the compressor, very little. We got more preamp color. I think we may have gotten 0.4 decibels of reduction with the ultra compressor. All right. We used the true peak function, but it's sitting at 0. Again, before. So it's almost flat. And this has more dynamics to it. All right. And that part blew my mind. I tell you, I had to stop, because if I would have kept going, I would have destroyed everything that I had just did. I had to stop, render it out, take it to the car. And I'm recognizing that I really need to practice that more often, because when I took it to the car, my friggin' jaw dropped to the floor on what I was hearing. And it wasn't at this point that I did that. It's the next point. It's the stuff that we put on the mastering bus, right? Cutting the low end out, giving it some tape compression. And as you can see, I don't know if you have this plug-in, do not ignore the input here, right? As you push this thing squashes your mix or whatever you're feeding it, right? And I'll show you that in a second. And again, of course, we put fire to clip on 2 instances, but at this point, I don't think this second instance is doing anything, but I'll take a look here. So on the top, all that high end and that low end, tamed it. And I got to get used to this sound, because so far this is what I'm hearing to be the correct thing, right? That 1 decibel, just that clipper right there, just it takes it to the edge. Look how much bottom end is coming through there, all right? Yeah, so this one isn't really being used. However, what I want to do is, because I discovered this yesterday, I think, Tulip comp. So I usually go for quick volume maximizing. I usually reach for L2, right? But I'm recognizing that this thing here as a volume maximizer is better. I mean, it is what it is. Now, right now, it doesn't sound like it did anything, because it's pretty much matched up, right? But remember, I reduced this. So let me turn this up. And I apologize. I just realized I had this too low. Rookie mistake. So I can turn it up. But as you can see, just looking at the meter here, I'm nowhere near 0. So that whole, what, 12 decibels? Let's see what this peak is at. Yeah, minus the 1. So if I was to put this at 0, it would be at its max volume. And we're still getting a little bit of gain reduction in there. So let me try something here. So I'm gonna bring down this volume, which is feeding out to you guys. Turn on fire the clip. And then I'm gonna go ahead and increase this. All right. Whew. See how much it's pulling back on that. And mind you, it's reducing it by -5 in here. So at the end of the day, when I look at all of these tools and what they're giving us with the new research and development, is going to be wild, man. It is really going to be wild, because every last one of these pieces of plugins that we're utilizing here has a analog stage to it, and it's adding, and it's giving, and it's pulling, and it's pushing. And this, not to mention, and this hasn't been, I'm not gonna say it's not possible in Cubase, but the level of, I have all of these plugins are activated. This is quite a bit, right? And the CPU still isn't maxed. Normally, I wouldn't even get this far. I may add 1 or 2 of these things over here, and this is where we would be at, right? Half. If this was any other plugins, just in Cubase here, this thing would have been screaming at this point. I would have had to apply some stuff by an offline bounce, right? So the Core 18, the hyper preamps, the hyper compression, the hyper saturation, the clipping on this thing, and just the color and the feel that you get from these is already incredible at this point. When they start releasing this new stuff with all 3 of these pieces of technology in it, plus the Core 18 and maybe something new, man, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. And just for my own edification here, a lot of the things I learned in the 30 plus years that I've been doing this, I'm now able to bring back out of my memory banks and actually apply them, because they worked better in the analog realm because of the way those things interacted than they do in the digital realm. And it's like my brain will click on when I engage such a thing. All right. So, was there anything else? I think that was pretty much it. The other thing though was that, and I will disengage, where are you? I'll disengage this one. So we'll take this out. There's 2 things I wanted to show before we left here. That was the Cola update, right? It has the hyper compression in it now, and the brick wall limiters, right? So just as a quick test. Yes. Yes, man. All right. So that's that. Of course, the brick wall. The difference between these compressors and the compressors that are in Tulip, of course, is the color of the preamps and whatever other tweakings that or the curve that they use that follows the compressor that was sampled here, right? So, but some of the characteristics of how they function, especially with like the brick wall limiter, right? So we know that as you increase the threshold, this thing will get louder, right? So that's the difference there. The only other thing I did want to test out here, because I haven't really had a chance to, I did in this other record that I put together, but um, I wanted to see it here. So no, we'll put it before the Tulip. So Lava, right? The update to Lava. One, they added the 103. So I have that by default loading up. I don't know why I have this all the way up by default, but I have 103 loaded up because that's the microphone you're listening to now and the one that I record with. And they added this big boy here, which, if you know, this thing is expensive. Like, I won't see that anytime soon. Expensive. So I wanted to see what this sounded like on the vocals here. So let me unmute this, and perhaps, well, I can do it from here. I'm going to mute the backgrounds just so I can hear that on its own. Yeah. And let's start it there.
We gon' make it to the top now, lady.
Right?
Then you can pull the top down, baby. With our feet up on the dashboard, lazy. Get money while the world's
Now,
gone crazy.
what I hear,
We gon' make it to the top.
what I hear is we need to take the EQ out first, because I did test this once, and the C800 is way more. It has color to it. So I'm going to bypass these two, which are high end boost, and actually we'll turn the low pass off too. And let's just turn it all off. Well, I'll leave this on. No, I'll turn this off too. So that way we know that that's not influencing the signal at all. So again, here is the TLM 103 with no EQ on it, at least from the standpoint of, well, tell you what, we'll just take it off of there too. So no EQ on, nothing on the, well, you know what, here, let's do this. We'll just turn the EQ off from the pre-master. I don't think we have anything on the, come on now, on the verse bus. I'm going to turn this. Is this delay or is this the ensemble? That's delay, so I'll leave that on. But this, I want to turn off. Okay, so here's before.
We gon' make it to the top now, lady. Then you can pull the top down, baby. With our feet up on the dashboard, lazy. Get money while the world's gone crazy. We gon' make it to the top now, lady. Then you can pull the top down, baby. With our feet up on the dashboard, lazy. Get money while the world's gone crazy. We gon' make it to the top now, lady. Then you can pull the top down, baby. With our feet up on the dashboard,
Yes.
lazy.
Huh.
Get money while the world's gone crazy. We gon' make it to the top now, lady.
So it definitely has a richer tone to it. And to be perfectly honest, I would start with that first, because that would definitely influence the way I EQ, if I even need to EQ. All right. Now I do have, no, we took the low cut off. So yeah, that's it straight going through with the preamp and the compressor, but no, there's no equalization on. So it's doing its own EQ here, right?
We gonna make it to the
That's
top now,
that's 103.
lady.
Kind of flat.
Then you can pull the top
A little bit on
down,
the.
baby.
Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. I'm hearing something else that I shouldn't be hearing. Oh, that's the
We
reverb,
gonna
isn't
make
it?
it to the top now, lady.
So let
Then
me.
you can pull the top down, baby. With our feet up on the dashboard, lazy. Get
Try.
money while the world's gone crazy. We gon' make it to the top
Thought I turned that off.
lady. Then you can
There
pull
we go.
the top down, baby.
All right.
With our
Now
feet
it's
up on
dry,
the dashboard, lazy. Get money while the world's gone crazy. We gon' make it to the top
There you go.
now, lady.
So it
Then you can pull the top
has
down,
more presence.
baby. With our feet up on the dashboard, lazy. Get money while the world's gone crazy. We gon' make it to the top now, lady. Then you can pull the top down, baby. With our feet
Oh,
up
yeah.
on the dashboard, lazy.
I think I might have found my new microphone. All right, man. It's almost, we're at 2 hours and 30 minutes. I try to keep these short, but I get caught up in this stuff, man, and it's a wrap, man. It is a wrap. But anyway, man, listen, if you are and if you have enjoyed this video, I know it's a long one, and if you made it this far, hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. Make sure you hit the like button if you want to be notified. Well, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Hit the subscribe button and the bell if you want to be notified of any additional videos that I do. All right. And with that,